parameterized constructors. So the second type of constructors in C++ is parameterized constructor. Compared to default constructor does not accept any arguments, whereas parameterized constructor, it accepts arguments. Okay, so makes it possible to pass arguments to initialize an object. When you are creating an object itself, you can pass some values to that object. Okay, to create a parameterized constructor, simply add parameters to the way you do it to functions. Generally, how you give arguments to a function, same way we have to do it here. But the important point is that the constructor name will be the class name. Okay, right? See the syntax here: class, class name, public, see class name and parameters, then body. Why class name? Constructor name should be the class name. So I am giving class name and I am giving the parameters and I am writing some body there, right? Just like any other constructor, parameterized constructor does not return any value. Like all other constructors, constructor concept itself does not returns anything back. Okay, so it is just an advanced version of default. In default, we don't give any arguments, whereas in parameterized constructors, we pass arguments. Let's see an example to understand this much better. See this, I am having a class student with roll number, name and fee, right? So I am having a public, in public I am having a function display, but I am defining a parameterized constructor, see student, with some int, char and double arguments. See, int, char and double arguments. Again, we have studied that constructors can be defined inside the class and outside class also. So in this example, I have implemented it outside the class. If you want to implement it outside the class, what you have to do? You have to use class name, scope resolution operator, and the constructor name, that is again class name, with some arguments. And write some set of statements inside that. Okay, so see, this is the default parameterized constructor and its body is defined here. Again, same way display function also I wrote it outside. Display function also, since these both are public, we are writing them outside. We can write the public functions outside by using scope resolution operator. Okay, see, in main I am creating an object yes, student yes, I am giving 1000 RAM and 10,000, that is roll number, name and fee, right? So this is way you are creating an object yes. While you are creating an object yes, you are passing some arguments. So what will happen when you write this statement? By default, this particular block is executed. It means this function is executed. What it is doing? This number which I am passing is being copied into this private variable. This RAM name which I am passing, that is copied into this private variable name. Same way 10,000 is copied into this private variable fee. So this is one way we are assigning values to the private data members of the class using parameterized constructors. Okay, then I am having a display function. This is a public function. Simply call object.display. But what about this values roll number, name, fee? I got it assigned here like this. Okay, so this is an example to demonstrate parameterized constructors. Okay, see here but again this is the implementation of constructor outside the class. Inside the class also you can do it, but you can define it outside the class as well, right? See, while you are creating object, when you are creating object student yes, you are passing 1001 and some name and some fee. So instead of writing yes dot, because these three are private, using an object outside class, I cannot do this. That's why we are using the concept of constructors. Okay, when is the constructor executed? It is executed as on when the object is created. But this time I am creating an object and passing some values also. These values are this function is invoked. It means this function is invoked. These three values 1000 RAM and 10,000 are passed into these variables. Those variables I am copying into the actual private variables. The actual private variables I am copying into. Okay, that's why when I am calling yes.display function, these particular values are being printed. Now, the one important point here in parameterized constructor is that, can I have default arguments here? Okay, can we have default arguments also? Yes, it is possible, right? In this student constructor with parameters, I wrote here int number, I wrote char n, that is for the name. Okay, instead of this, if you don't pass this also, if you pass only roll number and name, you can write here, you can write some double f equal to 5000. You can do this. I think you are aware of this. Functions has default arguments. When you are calling a function with only two variables, the third variable is assigned like this. Okay, if you are giving three variables, no problem. This will not be considered. This will be 10,000 will be 5,000 will be overridden with 10,000. 5,000 will be replaced with 10,000 when you are passing it. But if you don't pass this, it will take the default value 5,000, which you are writing here, double f equal to 5,000. So default arguments are possible here also. Okay, default arguments in this parameterized constructor. So if we recall what we have seen here, parameterized constructor are types of constructor that accept arguments. Okay, so when you are creating an object, that automatically the private data members of the class are initialized with some values. We are saying that constructor is a way of assigning values to the private data members, right? And that is the only and the best way to do it. That's why for all the programs, when you write a program with class concept, you definitely have to use constructors. Among them, one type is parameters, where we pass the arguments. Okay, so here we have implemented this with an example. When I am creating an object student S, I am passing the parameters 1000 RAM and 10,000. So this particular block is executed. Again, this is a demonstration or a way of defining a constructor outside the class. When you are defining any function, outside the class, you have to use the class name, scope resolution operator, the constructor name with the arguments. For what all things do we use this scope resolution operator? For assigning static data members. If there is a static data member here, static int x is defined in the class, right? That x can be assigned value outside class. How? By using the class name student scope resolution operator x equal to 10. You can do this way. Okay, static data members of the class can be assigned outside. Same way the body of the functions or the body of the constructors can be defined outside by using class name, scope resolution operator, and the function with some arguments. And the last important point here is that since we are passing parameters to the function, it means to the constructor, we can use the concept of default parameters also in the constructors. So this is about parameterized constructor.